recording. I got over fast. Yeah, you did. And we begin again. Afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nieto.
How's everyone?
Have a seat there and let me put my robe on. If you want to get a chair to have a seat.
I thought they said it was going to be sunny today.
Started out that way, but it disappeared pretty quick.
Yeah, it was pretty deceptive, wasn't it?
I don't know, but keep talking Thursday is supposed to be bad.
All rise. The municipal court for the city of Fredericksburg is now in session. The Honorable Judge James Hupel is presiding.
Please be seated. And Officer Fuentes is getting some on-the-job training.
I see that. Right on.
Okay. I wanted to have this pretrial hearing just to go over a couple of things. One, while I'm thinking about it, let me just ask you, we talked about your driver's license.
Yes, sir.
I had put something, I'd sent you a memorandum, and in there I'd indicated that I found that the Omni system, which is automatically triggered with failure to appear, may have been what stopped your license.
Okay.
Were you able to get that reinstated?
Well, I went downstairs this morning when I came here thinking I was supposed to be here this morning. I went downstairs and I was going to go check, but the offices, they do the test on Tuesdays, so it's only by appointment.
Okay.
And so it's still up in the air about it. Like, I haven't tried, since coming back up to the court and actually putting in something, I haven't tried again online, but I don't know.
Well, check it out, because if that's what it was, I had directed the clerk to, since you had been here for the hearings, to put a release in so that Omni would not be doing the hold.
Oh, okay.
As a result of the charge. So
Right.
that was the one thing that I found that I could do to hopefully correct that problem.
Okay. As far as I know, it's shouldn't have a problem. Like, I received one letter from the city attorney's office saying that, you know, and in this office as well, saying that y'all looked into it and, you know, it should be good. And I think I got one recently issued though from the other judge's office, not I forget which one, but I think I got that. Yes, that's how you pronounce it. I always have problems with that. But yeah, I think I got that situated now. So like I said, I just have to go and attempt it again. I was hoping to do it in person, but it looks like I have to do it I'll try it online or try again tomorrow in the morning.
You also indicated at the last hearing that you were considering hiring an attorney.
Right.
Have you hired an attorney?
No, and I will be proceeding without one.
Okay. In that case, I do have a waiver of attorney form that I would ask you to sign. Now you'll see the form has a thing on it for jury waiver and attorney waiver. You're not waiving a jury, and if you want, you can cross that, put a cross or an X over the jury waiver. If that would make you feel better, because you don't need to fill that out.
Right.
But just have you signed indicate that you have been advised of your rights to an attorney and you're waiving an attorney. Okay. Let's see. If you would hand that to Mr. Nieto, we'll get a copy made of those for you. just need to have you sign and put a date. Today is the 6th.
Oh, and it's for each one of the charges, correct? That's why I'm doing this
Yes.
3 times?
Yes.
Okay.
And then Officer Fuentes, I would ask you to take those to Miss Tatch so you can make a copy of each of those so you can get Mr. Nieto.
I thought I put the year of the 12th on one of these. I was just making sure. Yeah.
Miss Tatch, Miss Tatch is in the back. One thing I did want to go through, and I'll do it while she's here, notices have been sent out for jurors,
Okay.
but we've had a limited number of people responding.
I know. It's so
we
sad.
We've sent out more notices. Do you have phone numbers for any of the jurors on the computer printout that you get? It doesn't have phone numbers. It just
No.
okay.
I get the phone numbers every day.
Only if they respond. Yeah. So we, some people end up never responding and still come.
Right.
Some people never respond. Most people do respond, but sometimes they don't.
Right.
And then you get some that respond. So we sent out more notices. But if we don't have somewhere in the area of, I'm going to say 12 to 14 jurors by Monday afternoon or Tuesday at the latest, my inclination is going to be to reset this for January.
Okay.
I do have authority to send the police out onto the street
And pick people.
and say, are you a resident of the city of Fredericksburg? Yes, I am. You're coming with me, and impress them into being a jury. I am not inclined to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think
I
that's
wouldn't
in
like
your
you to do that.
favor. I
Definitely
don't think
not.
that's in the state's favor. I certainly would not like to be a police officer having to do that, and I don't think it's in the city's favor either. So my inclination would be, if we don't have enough jurors, because I can still count that we could get a couple of jurors coming in that have never sent us anything.
Right.
That's not unusual. But if we don't have at least somewhere in the 12 to 14 area, we've got to have enough people that gives both you and it gives the state an opportunity to question the people and make sure that they can be fair and impartial and render a fair and impartial decision in the case. So we do have a telephone number for you, do we not?
I believe so. If not, before I leave, I'll make sure to leave one with Miss Tots. But I believe so. I believe we do have a phone number for me.
Okay. If you would just check with Ms. Patch to
Okay.
make sure, because once we've made a decision, I think I'd like to make have you called either way,
Right.
so that you know, yes, it's going, yes, it's not going.
Okay.
Now, I'm open I'm open to your thoughts, on what I've just said, so, Mr. Curtis?
I think while we're here and assembled, we ought to look at a backup date in January, so we don't have to, waste another
Okay.
One of these
trip
meetings.
to the court. And
Ms. Tatch, could you get the courtroom availability, schedule so we can try to see when in January we might be able to have the courtroom free to, if we have to reschedule? That's a good idea, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, sir. And let's see. Okay, these are the originals, right?
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look and see.
But alternatively, I would, each side gets 3 strikes. And it's been my experience, I have not really used my strikes, so I would say if we have 14 or 15 next week, we could probably go.
Well, and yeah, that's in line with my thinking. That's why I was saying 12
Yeah.
and 14. The likelihood, frankly, the likelihood is even if we have only 12 actually signed up, we would probably have a couple more show up. But my hope is that with having sent out, I think Ms. Thatcher was sending out something like 34 notices.
Okay.
Okay, now,
This is what we've got scheduled for through the
yeah, what we could do is, okay, I'm just, okay, now, okay, pardon?
Those trials are open.
These are open. Okay, the 19th would be the next regular jury date. I'm looking at, 5th and 6th, Thursday and Friday, that's the first week back, are open. The 9th is a Monday, that's open. 13th is open, that's a Friday. And then that gets us to the 19th. I'm thinking, if we're gonna do it, I'm thinking the first week after the holidays is probably not the wisest.
It would be difficult, I would think, to get responses from the jury panel.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'd be okay with, you said Monday the 9th?
Monday the 9th is open.
I'll be out.
Oh, that's right, you're in school that day. Monday the 9th.
And the rest of that week
The
is
13th is Friday, that's open.
superstitious.
No, not at all. Yeah, I was thinking about that too. I was trying to figure out what would I rather take off of work, a Monday or a Friday, but then I'm leaning a little bit away from the Friday because as a juror sitting back there, I really wouldn't want to be sticking my Friday, starting my Friday off stuck in a courtroom. So,
Well,
I mean, if I have no problem with the 13th or anything like that.
well, there is one other aspect to that, and that is the 16th is a holiday,
No.
Martin Luther King.
Oh,
So that would not be a good day to do it because you'd have a lot of people that
Observe it.
might be taking a
Right.
4-day weekend.
Yes.
well, if you send out notices for the 5th or 6th, when When would you do that, when would you expect them back, or would it be like right before New Year's, or?
I just sent them out, like on the 19th of, I'm sorry, yeah, December, 19th of December,
So maybe,
maybe the 16th.
yeah, maybe, I was gonna say maybe, yeah, I would probably tend to say even 15th or 16th. You know, if it doesn't go, I would tend to say I'd just as soon send them out, right after when the trial was scheduled, just so that we know.
Right.
Because once the people respond, then we can, you know, have phone numbers and we can call
I'd be okay either the 5th or 6th. I think it'll work. You're back at work on the 3rd?
Yes.
Okay.
them. Well, why don't we, what about the 5th? That would be Thursday.
I have no objection.
That takes care of your concern about doing it on Friday.
Yeah.
That's why I say
It's fine on me.
Thursday. Okay, let's go ahead and pencil that in.
So right now, that's a backup.
It's just tentative as a backup, but,
Okay.
we need to reserve that date now, or we may not have the courtroom. So.
What was it again?
December 5th, that's a Thursday, would be the, I'm sorry.
January.
What did I say?
December.
Ah, no, it's not December, January. January 5th
Backup date.
would be the backup date.
All right.
And that way, if I end up making the decision that we don't have enough people, then we'll automatically set that for January 5th. If, as I say, if we've got 12 to 14 people, then I feel comfortable
Proceed.
pressing ahead.
Okay.
I think we've got, 12 to 14 people. I would always love 18 to 20, although normally
Right.
we don't have that many.
No, I don't think I've ever seen it myself either.
No.
It's pretty sad, like I said.
That 18 to 20 takes care of challenges for cause, people saying, well, I used to live in the city, but I moved out of the city, which means they're no longer qualified to sit as a juror.
Okay.
And as Mr. Curtis said, each side has 3 challenges for whatever reason. You're not required to state a reason unless it would be a potential challenge based upon race or gender.
Okay.
That kind of thing. But basically, otherwise you're not required to show that there's some kind of a conflict or a bias on the people's part. Okay. What I'm going to ask is that if you would be here, 9 o'clock is the time we tell the jurors to be here. I would ask you to be here by 8:30 on whatever date we have a trial. I will give you copies of my draft jury charge, and I will give you copies of the jury verdict form. And I've got to tailor this because it's going to be as to charge 1, fail to maintain financial responsibility, we the jury find guilty, not guilty, or not guilty, guilty. As to charge 2, as to charge 3. Now, The other aspect of that is, and I don't know if you've had time to think about it, and whether you're prepared to make a decision at this time or not, whether you want the jury to sentence you, or whether you want me to sentence you if you're found guilty of any offense.
Right. I'm not ready at this time to make that decision.
I understand, and we'll address that when we have trial. Once the jury has been selected, at that time you will have to make a decision.
Right.
Judge,
But
don't we get to board our them on sentencing? If, I think if somebody has a bias one way or the other about, other bad acts or, whatever, and we don't board our own, we can't wait until the trial to
No.
discover that.
what I would end up having to do is to advise them, you may be required to impose a sentence if you find the defendant guilty. I'm not aware of anything that requires Mr. Nieto to make that decision prior to the jury selection. And I say that, part of that is coming from, until he knows what constitutes the jury, he's not necessarily in a position to say, I feel comfortable having the jury do it, or having the judge do it. So, I will have to advise them that they may be called upon to impose a specific fine if they find the defendant guilty. I will advise them at a later time whether or not, or at the end of the trial, whether or not they will have to do that. But
if somebody says, I don't think I can do that, the state needs to know that.
oh, you mean I don't think I could adjudge a fine in this case?
Yeah, or I could only consider the minimum, or I couldn't consider the maximum, or whatever. I mean, I think the state's entitled to
You
inquire
are.
about that.
You are. I'm not disagreeing with that.
No, I'm not.
You would be entitled to ask that, and what I'm gonna have to do is to say, you may be required, if you sit as a juror and find the defendant guilty, to impose the punishment in this case, and the punishment would consist of a fine up to a maximum of $500 in one of the charges. And you certainly have the ability to make that inquiry.
If they can follow the law.
If they can follow the law, if they find the defendant guilty, can they impose a fine up to the maximum if the situation warrants it? However you want to go through, yes, you, by all means, you have the right to ask those questions, because we don't know at this point whether or not they will, and you have a right to make sure, you both have a right to make sure, can they consider a minimum, can they consider a maximum?
Okay.
Right, because I was considering asking something around those form questions as well. So I figured it was just like the same. I figured this matter would have been the same thing as me asking if any of them have any affiliation with law enforcement or government. Period. So, yeah,
But as soon as, once the jury is impaneled, I will require
me to make a
you
decision.
at that point in time to advise me. I'll probably just have both parties, both of you approach the bench and I'll ask that question. Who do you want to impose the punishment in this case if you are found guilty of any charge? And if I ever say, if you're found guilty, it's conditioned upon, who do you want to impose punishment? It's conditioned upon if you
You're
are
found guilty. Correct.
I have no idea what the outcome will be.
Right.
Okay? Is there anything else? You had mentioned at one point a motion in limine. I haven't gotten.
You haven't gotten anything from me because after reading your memorandum, let's see, what was it? Yeah, the paragraph 4 about jurisdiction, I think, there's no need for a motion in limine based on.
Yeah. Sovereignty is not an issue. I've ruled that if there's jurisdiction, it is a legal issue that I rule on, and I'll rule against you on that.
Right. I remember that.
I think we had some discussion about the term Texian national. And I had a note that we could question the jury about whatever they think that term means. But I can't remember where we went.
Well, I think what I had said, I think Mr. Nieto had said he may want to say I'm a Texian national, or words to that effect. Okay. And I think my comment, you had potential objection to that, and I said, I was inclined to allow that, but not much more. But certainly there can be questions, what does that mean to you, or the fact that Mr. Nieto has said he's a Texian national, does that make you more inclined in his favor or inclined against him, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a slippery slope, but I'm not going to allow much.
Right. I believe that was your ultimate ruling, that you were going to allow it, but there was going to be a leash. It wasn't like I just can go off on a tyrant or something about it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do remember that too. That if it seemed, if I brought it up, or if the term is brought up, and someone from the pool seems to have a reaction or something, that the state could further question that person. I do remember that as well. So.
Anything else?
One quick question: will I have access to use that monitor and stuff like that for the things I need to present in my case that I have, like on my laptop and things like that?
Do you, where you want to show it with the jury?
Well, I was gonna I might be using it in the voir dire as well. I haven't decided, but I was going definitely to use it actually during the trial.
Yes, you would have access to it. The question really becomes whether you're using it for demonstrative purposes, or if you're trying to use it as evidence.
What?
Okay, there can be a fine difference there. So what I'm saying is, yes, you have access to it. There may or may not be objection, and I'd have to consider what the objection would be, what your purpose would be, and what the objection would be at that time.
Okay.
Is there a way we could, view that early that morning for the jury or after the jury selected? So, there is something objectionable, I don't want the jury to see it until, I would, I mean, if it's something other than like the intersection or the street, you know, some visual description of what was it, Washington Street or wherever
Right.
it was. I'd like to view it before we queue it up for the jury.
What I think I would end up saying is that the time that would be appropriate would be after the state has rested.
Okay.
If Mr. Nieto at that point in time wishes to present evidence that that would be an appropriate time to let the jury go out, use the facilities, etc., and we could have an out-of-jury session in here to consider that.
Unless he wanted to use it in cross-examination of Sergeant Loveland.
Okay, valid point. So the question would be when you would be looking to use it.
Well, without knowing Sergeant Lovelady's testimony, I wouldn't know if I would need, if it would be pertinent to bring it up during cross-examination with him. So, it's really hard for me to answer that question.
Then my ruling would be, if he requests to use that, that we would have an out-of-jury session at that point in time, and I'd excuse the jury and we would consider it.
I have no objections.
Okay? Anything further?
I'm going to have Ms. McGowan's secretary, Haley, sit with me to help with the jury. And she may say she wants to go to law school, so she's not.
Okay.
She's not an attorney, but she would be an assistant.
She's an assistant in the county attorney, in the city attorney's office, which you're part of, so that's perfectly valid.
I don't see anything wrong with it. No, sir.
Anything else? Okay.
No, I think we're good.
We will see how many jurors we have, and Tuesday at the latest, we will contact you both, just to let you know, either way, whether we've got trial on Thursday or if we're delaying it until the 5th.
Okay. Sounds awesome.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.